Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Now Teslafy FSD version 11.3.4. This is a highlights and lowlights video compilation I put together. First up, kind of the bane of our existence right now, four-way stops. So you can see in this one, it is our turn to go, although we've got a couple of blue vehicles that starts to move forward, confuses the car on the left, and I had to give it the accelerator to proceed through because simply everyone was confused by the creep behavior. And we'll see some other examples of that in this video. Next up, we actually have a highlight. This is a reverse S-curve that actually turned out really nice. So we've got an intersection here. We come to a stop. For some reason, there's a car to my right that also comes to a stop. He did not have a stop sign. Beta decides to just go, which is fine, great, safe. And then it just really nicely makes this last S-curve here to the right, which it's always had a hard time for some reason with that turn. Here we have what has been traditionally my Pybus challenge, where at the bottom of this hill, in the right lane only, the right lane is a turn-only lane, and immediately we see here Beta get into the left lane, which is the best it's ever done, nice and early. I like it. However, right here, the car on the right, I think is trying to get into my lane. We can see the blinker turn on there that she wants to get over, but I had to disengage because it just simply got too close to me and I wasn't seeing Beta make any movement there. So we probably would have been fine, but I didn't want to take any chance. Here we've got another turn-only lane, so the very first lane that will be in here after we make this, actually quite nice, unprotected left, not too difficult, right? But we make a left here, and this is a left turn-only lane onto a one-way, and immediately gets over into the right-hand lane. So again, some really nice maneuvering there, and some really good improvements, to be honest. And again, a lot of this is nice and smooth, so I think that's some of the things when it's doing things right in this version, it's making very nice, natural, smooth changes. However, that's quickly deflated because up here I've got some lane change shenanigans for you. For some reason, Beta wants to move to this right-hand lane on a curve, which I would have done earlier, this is the lane we need to be in. So as far as planning goes, I would have gotten in this lane for our upcoming turns, etc. But then for some reason, Beta decides to go into the left lane. So some lane change shenanigans. I'm not entirely sure why. All right, so here we have my infamous BRExit. And we should be in this middle hand lane in order to make the center exit, if you will. But Beta likes to make it into the right hand lane and then at the top of this curve, move over into the left hand lane to keep following our path. In the previous version 10.69, it had done this successfully a handful of times, not consistently, but it seems to be back to its behavior of moving into the right-hand lane, then back into the left. So here's another attempt at it a little bit later in the day. Again, we can see the same behavior that I'm used to of going over to the right-hand lane after being in the correct lane, and then for some reason, again, moving over into the left-hand lane. And in this version, it just basically completely fails because we've got this bus that's in its preferred lane. So I had to take over because it simply wasn't even taking the exit. So just a pretty terrible regression here for my bridge exit. Let's try some roundabouts, shall we? This is my mini roundabout, which right now is terrible. I actually cannot get this one to work. As you can see, in both of these attempts, it makes some mistakes. The first one, it wanted to hit the corner of the curb to the right, and almost again there on the left, and it missed the median kind of in the middle. So I tried this again, and it's really just bad. And it never had problems with it in 69. Here we have my normal sized roundabout, and this was a really good first attempt. Yielded to traffic just fine, maybe a little bit slow getting into the roundabout here and a little bit slow there, but it actually makes it all the way through without issue. So that was a really nice, easy progression through this roundabout.
So here we got a couple more attempts at this roundabout from a few different angles. So this one had a stop line at a decent spot, and then it went to another stop line while traffic was coming. So we probably should have gone after that larger truck, but it decided to move to a second stop line, then wait. So that was a little bit odd. And then the map planner actually should have gone in a different direction, and it didn't. So here's one more attempt going straight through, this time coming back the other direction that I had just come from. There wasn't any traffic there to really worry about, so it handled that one perfectly. Coming again from the same direction as the last clip, the next day, we got a little bit of traffic to interact with here. And we're going to be turning right instead of going fully straight. So this was okay waiting for traffic. I mean, again, there could have been a spot where we could have fit in there without an issue if it was a little bit more assertive, but it was safe and I wasn't holding up anybody behind me. So that one I think worked out okay. So coming back to it from a different angle from the previous night, this one is a all the way around, and again there wasn't much traffic to interact with to begin with in the circle, but made it through really without hesitation, which was really nice. Here again, coming up from the top of the circle, and then we're just making a simple right. So again, there's another good example where it did well. So here's a low light. We're making a left turn, and then we need to get into the middle lane to turn right. It starts to make that maneuver just fine, but then once it gets to a stop line for some reason, it has a really hard time choosing a lane and an angle to go in the turn. So that was pretty terrible. Here we get a bit of slalom action and some lane changing shenanigans again. So as you can see here, we roll through this intersection fine, but it's wanting to make a right. So you can see it's starting to think that it's going to move into the right-hand lane, and that's fine. At this point, we're okay to be in this lane, but then it immediately decides to move into the left-hand lane. So I disengage and take over at this point, but that was very odd and just unnecessary. There were just confusing people around me. So I re-engage, and lo and behold, it wants to get back over into the right lane. So this time I let it out, and this is one of the most interesting interactions I had. Look at this. Beta stopped for this car that wanted to, I was at an intersection and it made room for this car and actually let him in. The interesting thing is he wasn't stopped there. So I was a little bit confused, surprised, and I just thought it was a hilarious interaction. You may have seen this on Twitter. Hey, a polite gesture from Beta. I'll take it.